In this speech, we'll be seeing that very certainly the negative team are ducks and not endangered beasts as they claim to be, and that the affirmative team's plan is the solution we should be passing for the United States of America today. So with that in mind, I'd like to get this issue of theory out of the way first so we don't have to think about it later when we're dealing with the meat of the issue. Let's talk about parametrics. I'm going to be making 4 points, but essentially respond to Tyler's points and kind of condense them a little bit. My first point is a response to his point of inconsistency. I would say no, the affirmative team is not inconsistent in today's debate round. We believe that the United States federal government's environmental policy should be significantly reformed by passing supercritical. We don't have to believe that our Endangered Species Act should be significantly reformed to believe that the resolution is true. We give you a situation where it is true. That proves the statement true. My second point is a response to the point about ducks. They said that just because we prove the resolution true in another way doesn't mean we're actually the affirmative team. I would like to say that the imaginary box over the head that says negative team disappears the minute they advocated a change underneath the resolution. The third point was about the ballot. Well, actually, that was about the ballot. So that's combined already. We've already seen that. Even though there are 2 boxes on the ballot, the only option left in today's debate round is to vote affirmative. And my fourth point is ground in today's debate round. We're not talking about dinner table arguments or about Congress. We're talking about the debate round where the entire ground of the debate is laid out by the resolution, and we have very strict rules about how we're going to follow that. The affirmative team is here to affirm the resolution, to prove that the United States federal government's environmental policy should be significantly reformed. The negative team is here to prove that it should not be significantly reformed, and since they've proven to you that it should be in one way, they are proving that statement true. There is one affirmative team today. With that in mind, let's talk about the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1 is that demand is static. Patrick laid out 2 options, both of which have negative ramifications for you. I'd like to say there's a third option, and the third option is the true one. The third option is that these coal plants can burn less coal, emit less, and produce the same amount of power. They're not going to shut down. They're not going to be eliminated. They're simply going to need less coal, which means they pollute less. Disadvantage number 2 was that of cost, and I have one response. We cover these costs of retrofits. We're not building new coal plants. We think that would be wasteful. We're simply retrofitting the old ones that pollute the most and reducing that pollution. Let's move on to the solvency point, that of emissions. I have 2 responses. First of all, the negative team misunderstands their own evidence and our position. Basically, when we look at the negative team's evidence, they say that supercritical emits a little bit less per pound of coal. We completely agree. We emit 6% less per pound of coal. That's great. That's an advantage to our plan. On top of that, we burn 35% less coal. Less coal burned means less emissions, means the advantages of our plan. Let's move on to the reasons to reject the counter plan. We believe that there are 2 important ones in today's debate round. First of all, the loophole is already closed. The loophole is already closed. We brought you evidence from a Juris Doctorate, an expert in law, who said this grandfathering loophole is obsolete because of the court cases the negative team talked to you about. It is one example, but the effects of the ruling on the law in that court case mean that this loophole is no longer a problem. It's closed now. And we see the harms continuing in the current system. In 2009, coal power plant emissions cost us $62 billion. That's unacceptable, and that's continuing despite the closure of the loophole. If you vote affirmative, the loophole is closed, and you can save 12,000 more lives every single year. I'd say that's a change worth voting for. Let's move on to the second reason to reject the counter plan, and that is closing the grandfathering clause comes with no funding and therefore will be ineffective. No funding means it will be ineffective. In his last speech, my partner brought you a piece of evidence saying these technology standards have empirically been found ineffective and very expensive for the emissions reductions they provide. Why is this? Because they say this coal plant has to install this particular technology, but they give no money to do that. Now, that's great in theory, but it doesn't work in practice, as Patrick was talking about. Why? Because coal power plants often can't afford the millions or billions of dollars it costs to install these technologies across the board. The coal power industry is struggling right now. Let's look at a piece of evidence that talks about the way it is struggling from the Associated Press, January 2009. Quote, anemic spending has begun spreading to the usually recession-resistant coal industry. Producers have slashed production, idled mines, and cut jobs less than a year after soaring coal prices left the industry struggling to find enough workers, end quote. The fact is, coal power plants don't have a lot of money to be installing extra technologies right now, and closing this loophole doesn't come with any funding. That's why it doesn't work, because they don't meet the standard, and on top of that, they're fined. So there's unable to meet the standard even more. With our plan, we have funding. It's a 100% guarantee that you can save 12,000 lives every year by passing the affirmative team's plan. That guarantee is worth your ballot today. Thank you.